public comments related to the settlement stipulation that was filed November 16th, 2020 between the Division of Public Utilities and West Water Company. And in the Pineview West Water Company's request for approval of a conservation rate increase. In docket number 19-2438-01, an evidentiary hearing was held this morning wherein the parties in the docket testified in support of the stipulation. This is the public witness portion of the hearing, and we are here as the commission to hear comments from the public related to the settlement stipulation. As I indicated in the notice that I believe we issued related to the public witness hearing, those from the public who are interested in making comments should have been on the Google Meet by 5 o'clock, and it's 5:02. And so I see a couple, maybe 3 people on. And let's take roll call. One by one, I'd like for each of you to introduce yourselves. Specifically, please state and spell your name so that the court reporter can make sure to record that correctly. And I believe I'd like to start with Mr. Bruce Hart, please.
Yes, Bruce Hart. And I'm one of the original users of the water on when it was before Radford Hills or anything. There's 5, 6 of us up on the top of the mountain there that were hooked up with it. Don't use very little water, maybe a couple of 100 gallons a month is all, because I'm not doing any irrigation. Wouldn't mind doing it, but I just kind of felt like with trying to conserve water and so on and so forth, all I'm doing is washing dishes and flushing the toilet occasionally, and I just use it. My suggestion would be, I hate to see it continue to rise. I understand that everybody's got to participate, but why can't we have a lower, set amount, knowing that everybody's got to participate in the upkeep and maintenance and so on and so forth. And then maybe, because we've all got meters, then charge us up and above that based on the amount of water we use. And makes it a lot fairer. Somebody that's maybe irrigating or, got a lot of landscaping in that is going to use more water in a week than I'm going to use in a quarter. And I want it to be fair. I'm not trying to, I want to pay my fair share, but at the same token, I'm a little bit concerned about now that we've got these bigger homes and Radford Hills being, taking place and everything else, that some of us that just got more or less vacation homes that are just using it, periodically, not very often, maybe a few times a month, and doing nothing more than just, washing the dishes and taking a shower and flushing the toilet, so to speak. I just hate to see it. When we first started in Radford, put this water system in, there was just the 6 of us, but now it's, the development has increased with Radford Hills and everything else. And my position is I'd just like to see it be fair for everybody. You know what I mean? The big users should pay more than the people that are not. And get those minimums down to where it makes sense,
I understand, Mr. Hart. As to your last comment there, the proposal is actually to charge a higher amount to the people who consume more. I don't know if you have reviewed the settlement stipulation, but that is the structure that they agreed to.
Is there any chance? I haven't. I've talked to some of my neighbors that have, and for some reason I didn't get it or or whatever, but they are all of the opinion that maybe that first tier should be lower. And then, of course, charged by, when they read the meters. I've never, in the years I've been there, which is about 35, I've never seen any meter readings because I'm always below. I mean, he does a good job, don't get me wrong, but I've just never even came down to been over the amount that just is standard. I think it's, what is it now, Peter? No, $75 a month or whatever it is. I think my bill's like $165 or $70 every quarter, every 3 months. Right. That's just my opinion. I know it's, from what I understand, it's too late now to do anything for this year, but I'd just like to put my 2 cents in that when next year it's looked at, that you'll consider the fact that those of us that use very little water make it as palatable as possible. And, I know you got a certain size budget and you got to meet it, you got to maintain the system and so on and so forth. But, I think that somebody that's using 100 times as much water as you are certainly should be paying more. I just like to make sure it's, it's palatable and it's, fair. That's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Thank you for participating today. I believe I heard you start to say that you didn't have the settlement stipulation or you didn't review it. It is on our website at the Public Service Commission, www.psc.gov, I believe. Let me just make sure.
Is it going to change going forward now? Is it, in my case, will my water bill go up from what it is now with what was passed?
The proposal is to make the new rate effective February, the beginning of February. And so, yes, your bill would increase beginning on February 1, I believe is the proposal. And I did get that website correctly. So if you go on there, and I don't know if you have something to write with in front of you, but I will give you the docket number. It is 19-2438-01, and it is www.psc.gov. So once you get to the website, it'll have links to gas, telecommunications, electricity, and water. And so that's where you would hit. You would hit the water link and then input or look for that number and then press the link, and it should take you to this docket. Anyway, so thank you for your comments. And it is not too late. We haven't approved this yet. We are considering public comments as well as the testimony that was given this morning in the evidentiary hearing. And so you're doing exactly, what you should be doing, which is participating and providing comments and information so that the commission can make its decision. So thank you.
Okay.
I see someone else. I see a Mr. Ryan Heiner on my computer here, and wondered if you would please first spell your name and then go ahead and provide comments, Mr. Heiner.
Sure. Yeah, this is Ryan Heiner. It's RyanHeiner.
Okay.
I'm on here. I represent one of the properties at Crimson Ridge, serviced by the Pineview West Water Company. We would be one of the individual properties that uses more than the average reported, on the submitted documents. I have gotten on there and reviewed those. I've seen those. We've known that there's a premium, and we are currently paying that premium, right? We're one of the higher users. We pay by the gallon. That's on there. We go over the minimum amount, and then pay by the gallon above that. We've actually had talks, or we've discussed with Mr. Turner a few different times, and the HOA developers a few times. We have cut back on the amount of water being used in order to try and conserve water, save money as well. We've actually installed a smart watering system to help as well this last year to help conserve the water. And we understand the need for a rate increase, right, with regular increases to keep up with expenses. But what's being proposed would increase our bill by a substantial amount, 3 or 4 times what it currently is, which is already much higher than normal. A couple concerns that I have with it is that we learned of this rate increase only this last week when the tier amounts were shared with that document that was sent out only this week that has the specifics on it. I recognize or know that in the October bill that was sent out, it did have a link to the website. We didn't go look at it at that point, but don't feel like it was very clear at the time or on the bill itself of what the proposed changes were. I have gone since over this last week, looked at those, done some calculation, and figured out that it would be, like I said, substantially more. So we don't believe that it's been communicated well enough for residents to understand what changes would be put in place yet. The challenge that we face there at Pineview, in Crimson Ridge specifically, is that there is no option for secondary water to be able to help with irrigation. There is just simply no option for that. From what I understand, we've talked about that with the developer HOA a couple different times, and the only option, the only provider for water is the Pineview Water Company, Pineview West. There's no other place to go. And when we built the home a couple of years ago, we actually talked with with our landscaper, with the HOA, and took a landscape plan to the HOA at that time. The HOA said at that time that it was going to have too much grass, too much turf, too much that would need to be watered. And so we cut back at that point in order to comply with the CC&Rs at the HOA, and got it to the point where we cut a substantial amount back, got that approved. But we heard nothing at that point about, other than that there was only culinary water. We would have to pay for the watering that would be done and what the rates were. And we figured out what would be reasonable to take care of at that point. And had no indication a couple of years ago that there would be this type of change that could come through and create the challenges. When over the last year or so, as we've had the conversations with Mr. Turner about water conservation and needing to cut back, we have actually gone back to the original landscaper and said, what would it take for us to cut all of our water back and go to zero scape? And based on the size of our lot and the property, it would cost us over $100,000 to change everything, right, from what was originally already approved through the HOA. So we, as a resident, we feel like we're caught in the middle of what the HOA said was fine and what the water company now is trying to change and force us to pay a substantially larger amount than what we have been working on and planning on. I guess what we're asking is that the amounts and the tiers that are being presented just be pushed or reconsidered to still encourage water conservation. We're trying to do everything that we can, considering the size and what needs to be done to help take care of the lot that was approved by the HOA, but not be so severely penalizing to residents like us.
So you just moved there a couple of years ago? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's a home that we've had for a couple of years.
Okay. All right. Well, I understand your testimony. Thank you for testifying. We will consider it. We'll take all of the testimony that has been presented, all the public comments, and when we make a decision, we certainly consider everything that's in the record, everything, all the explanations, all the evidence that has been filed in the case. And I will tell you that, we don't make these decisions lightly. We know how it affects people. And so, we take everything that is filed and based on the evidence and the law, we make a decision, of course, considering comments from the public as well. I understand where you're coming from. You came into this a couple of years ago, and I don't know if you know this, but this company has not increased their rate since 2009. And so that is part of the evidence that we consider. And so, we weigh the evidence and we make a decision, and we set up the process to try to hear from people as much as we can. And I'm a little surprised that it's only 2 people from the public who made it to this meeting. I would have thought that more people would have participated, given the proposal, but it is what it is, and we will consider everything that has been filed in your comments and Mr. Hart's comments as well.
Yeah,
and it looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah, 2 thoughts with that is, one, I don't believe that it's well known in the community yet that these rates are going to change. I believe that when they do change, you'll hear, or if there was an opportunity, you would hear more about it. Like what Mr. Hart just mentioned, he heard it from a neighbor. We got it from the developer who pushed it to us. We didn't even see it ourselves. So it's really not well known what's being proposed, I don't believe. But I may be, that's my understanding about that. And to be clear, I understand that it hasn't been changed in over 10 years, and I don't disagree that it needs to change to some degree. I strongly disagree, though, with the degree of change that's being put in place.
Can you tell me how big your property is?
I don't know the full amount. It's the full. It's about a full acre, but half of that roughly is what has landscaping done on it with bushes and turf and things. Okay. Well, good. Good. And
okay.
we are part of the higher usage. Like I said, it's the concern is not that it's going up; it's that it's going up as extremely as it is at these different tiers.
I understand. I understand that it's a substantial change from what it is now, and that was not lost on me. I did ask about that, so just so you know, I did observe that and asked about it, and so unless anybody else has any more questions, I don't see anybody else from the public who has logged on to the Google Meet. And unless I hear otherwise, I want to thank you, Mr. Hart, and Mr. Heiner for coming on and participating. I appreciate your comments, and the commission will consider them. And thank you very much. Okay.
Yvonne, do you, is it appropriate for us to make any comments, or is this primarily a public comment section?
It is a comment section, and the evidentiary hearing and the portion of the hearing where parties can participate and put forth evidence into the record as a party. That was done this morning. However, given that, Mr. Turner, you are the president of the company, if you want to respond to anything and just, anything that strikes you and that you'd like to provide to these gentlemen, I think that would be fine. This is not, though, an evidentiary hearing. It's just basically an opportunity for you, perhaps, to allay any concerns as much as possible that they may have. I know what has been filed. I have read the record. And so don't feel like you have to respond to defend the record or anything like that. If you have a response as a fellow resident, as a fellow customer, then that's what I would encourage. But given that I have all of the evidence and a full record, there's no need to defend anything, if you will. But if you want to take the opportunity, like I said, to allay any concerns, that would be fine with me.
I think you're correct that the evidence we presented in the former hearing and in former filings indicate the issues the water company is having with a very limited supply of water, which is not adequate for excessive use. And that's why we're requesting a conservation rate increase, not to necessarily increase our income, but really to encourage conservation of the very precious water we have. So I think that's fine. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.